life can be harsh at times. Not because of grand tragedies, but because of the quiet accumulation of pressure, the slow drip of anxiety, and the weight of unmet expectations. Many of us find ourselves in prolonged states of worry or even depression, not due to any single dramatic event, but because we've allowed our minds to be led by emotion and by things beyond our control. Yet there is another path, the one walked by the Stoic sages over 2,000 years ago, from a slave like Epictetus to an emperor like Marcus Aurelius. They did not run from hardship. They faced it and found a way to live without being swept away by the storm of emotion. If you are weary from insecurity, if you long to reclaim a calm mind, then now is the moment to reflect. How can we stop being ruled by stress or depression through the lens of Stoic philosophy? 1. Mastering your reaction. The first step to inner freedom. All negative emotions begin from a single misunderstanding, the confusion between the event itself and how we perceive it. We think we're stressed because of work overload, because someone said something harsh, or because of an unexpected mishap. But if we look closely, we'll notice that others in the same situation are not affected the way we are. They don't get angry, they don't get upset, they don't panic. It's not that their lives are easier, but that they respond differently. And in that difference lies the beginning of inner freedom. Epictetus once said, "It's not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them." When we grasp this, we begin to reclaim control over ourselves. The Stoics don't believe in blaming circumstances. They don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "How will I respond to this?" That subtle shift in questioning marks the turning point of fate, because the world never stops changing. Things beyond our control, other people's words, work outcomes, the weather, illness, will always be there and can strike at any moment. If we let our emotions depend on them, we bind ourselves to an unstable wheel. But if we understand that our one true power lies in our reaction, we can remain calm even in the storm, not because we deny reality, but because we refuse to let fleeting emotions overpower reason. Marcus Aurelius, amidst brutal wars and immense pressure from the court, still took time each night to remind himself, "No one can make me angry without my permission." That is a quiet but steady strength, rooted not in controlling the external, but in mastering the internal. Mastering our reaction doesn't mean suppressing or pretending not to feel. On the contrary, it means mindful observation, seeing the emotion arise but not blindly acting on it. When insulted, a Stoic doesn't react immediately but asks, "Is this worth my attention? Am I letting someone else take control of my mind?" That pause, just a moment, is often enough to stop anger from turning into cruelty or fear into rash decisions. The journey to mastering your reactions is long, requiring daily practice. It begins with the smallest things. When you're criticized, when someone cuts in line, when work doesn't go your way. We can react as always with anger, complaints, or self-pity. Or we can try a new response. Breathe, observe, and reply with reason. Over time, we realize we're no longer dragged by circumstance. We no longer have to be angry or have to be sad. We have the power to remain calm, even when the world around us is chaos. And in that choice, true freedom begins, a freedom no one can take away because it comes from within. Inner peace doesn't arrive when everything is going well. It's the ability to stay clear-headed, even when everything is falling apart. Once we understand that our reaction is the only thing under our control, no situation, failure, loss, or misunderstanding can touch the deepest part of us. The Stoics didn't seek to avoid hardship, but to ensure hardship never ruled their souls. And that is the first and most crucial step to living beyond the reach of stress and depression. Returning to yourself, realizing you always have the power to choose your response, and in that choice, stepping onto the path of inner freedom. 2. Preparing for loss. Emotional immunization. In medicine, vaccination is a way to introduce a weakened form of a virus so the body can build resistance and not be overwhelmed when the real thing strikes. The Stoics applied a similar principle to the mind. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of misfortunes. Not to live in fear or pessimism, but to mentally prepare in advance, so we're not caught off guard or paralyzed when adversity comes. This isn't negative thinking, but a conscious exercise in building inner resilience. Seneca advised his students to spend a few minutes each morning imagining an important plan being cancelled, a loved one misunderstanding you, the sudden loss of property, or a decline in health. When we imagine loss, we aren't causing it to happen. We're rehearsing living with it, like an emotional vaccine. And because of that, if one day it actually occurs, we are not shocked. Our minds don't freeze. We are ready to respond. Panic is often born from surprise. Steadiness is born from preparation. Marcus Aurelius, amid war and plague, wrote in his journal, "Today I will meet rude, ungrateful, deceitful people, but I know this in advance, so I am not surprised, and I won't let them ruin my mood." For him, anticipating hardship didn't make him cynical, it made him unshakable. Because when difficulty arrived, he didn't ask, "Why is this happening?" He went straight to, "How will I face it?" That's a form of mental readiness. Not controlling events, but controlling our state of mind as they arrive. In modern life, this practice is deeply practical. Before a major presentation, imagine the projector breaking, colleagues being unsupportive or stumbling over your words. Before a trip, picture a delayed flight, lost luggage, or bad weather. When we anticipate and accept the worst-case scenario, our minds grow more flexible and less brittle. We learn to say, "I expected this," instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" That difference is the foundation of mental strength. However, it's crucial to approach this practice with a healthy mindset. Not to fear the future, but to remind ourselves of life's impermanence. There is no guarantee today will be like yesterday, or that tomorrow will unfold as planned. But instead of letting that uncertainty cause anxiety, the Stoics teach us to let it make us more awake. When we know what we have could vanish at any time, we cherish it more. When we remember that tomorrow's goodbye could come unexpectedly, we speak more love into today. Thus, imagining loss doesn't make us cold or indifferent. It helps us live more fully in the present. Preparing for loss is mental training to face unwelcome realities. It makes us more adaptable, less prone to break. Instead of reacting impulsively, we welcome calmly. Instead of shock, we respond with clarity. Instead of panic, we act with presence. The Stoics didn't wait until misfortune struck to find their strength. They trained beforehand in times of peace. So when the storm came, their minds stood firm, like a tree whose roots have already dug deep into the earth. 3. Embracing adversity. transforming pain into inner strength. None of us can avoid adversity. No matter how hard we try, there will always be things beyond our control: loss, misunderstanding, failure, betrayal, illness. But the Stoics don't ask how to avoid adversity. They ask, who will I become after going through this? To them, adversity is not a punishment, but a natural environment to cultivate inner character. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the soul." It is through hardship that we see most clearly the depth of our will, resilience, and the kindness we can carry in our hearts. Many view suffering as a failure, as a mistake to be erased. But the Stoics see suffering as a guest to be welcomed with calmness and curiosity. They don't avoid discomfort. They invite it to sit down and listen to what it has to teach. When we are hurt, instead of asking, "Why me?" we can ask, "What will I learn from this pain?" In doing so, adversity no longer feels like a burden, but becomes a lesson. Sadness is no longer a pit dragging us down, but fertile soil nurturing our growth. Seneca once said, "Difficulties are opportunities to reveal your character. Without misunderstanding, we wouldn't learn composure. Without failure, we wouldn't understand the value of patience. Without loss, we wouldn't know how to cherish what we have." Stoics don't consider adversity lucky, but they know that within every hardship lies a chance to live more wisely. It doesn't reveal itself right away, but through observation and reflection, each wound unveils a lesson. Each event leaves a gift only visible to those who endure. Marcus Aurelius, though the most powerful emperor of his time, never turned away from the harsh realities of illness, war, and betrayal. Instead, he wrote calmly in his journals about loss, injustice, and death. He viewed every challenge as a test for his character, a trial for reason, an opportunity to become a better version of himself. For him, adversity is where truth reveals itself most clearly, because in comfort, anyone can be kind, but in suffering, only the truly grounded retain their integrity and compassion. In practice, it's not easy to face adversity with grace. But the Stoics never demanded instant strength. They didn't deny emotion or force strength prematurely. Instead, they encouraged daily practice, from minor frustrations like unfair criticism to profound losses like the death of a loved one. Every time we resist reacting on impulse, every time we choose reason over emotion, we forge another layer of armor for our soul. Over time, this armor doesn't protect us from pain, but from collapsing beneath it. Transforming suffering into strength is a journey of awareness, acceptance, and deliberate action. The Stoics don't seek to erase emotions, but to shape them in service of virtue. They believe that every time we rise after hardship, we are no longer the same. We become deeper, more understanding, and more compassionate with ourselves and with others. This is the quiet but powerful beauty of Stoic philosophy, turning adversity into a stepping stone, turning pain into raw material, and from that, forging an inner life that cannot be broken. 4. The Evening Journal. Planting seeds of peace through reflection. In the modern world, many end their day with phone screens, random streams of information, or lingering thoughts about unresolved matters. Suppressed emotions, unspoken regrets, unfinished words, and reactions we wish to undo quietly pile up. The mind grows restless, and sleep, meant to restore us, becomes a silent arena where anxiety continues to churn. The Stoics, thousands of years ago, understood this risk. They didn't let a day pass without examining it through reflection. That's why they practiced the habit of an evening journal, a small but potent ritual to reorganize the mind, learn from oneself, and sow the seeds of peace for tomorrow. Seneca once wrote, "When night falls, let us listen to ourselves." We are no longer actors on stage but observers backstage. And in that role of observer, we begin to see what we often miss while in motion. The evening journal doesn't need to be long or eloquent. It's simply 3 questions. What did I do well today? Where did I lose control? What will I adjust tomorrow? These questions open a door inward, helping us review the day not to judge ourselves, but to understand, and from there, to grow. Writing things down helps transform feelings into words, and once named, emotions no longer float in the mind as formless burdens. Journaling is a way to step outside the emotion and view it with calm. When we write, "I got angry because of a colleague's insensitive comment," we shift the anger from a blind reaction to an object we can observe, analyze, and learn from. We might realize we overreacted or that there's an unresolved tension inside us. From that clarity, self-mastery becomes more possible tomorrow. Marcus Aurelius, regarded as one of the greatest Stoic practitioners, wrote meditations as a form of nightly journaling. Those words were meant for no one but himself. No performance, no embellishment, just a soul trying to stay clean amid a turbulent world. He reminded himself of gratitude, of life's brevity, of the duty to live rightly despite circumstance. And that habit helped him stay rational through political storms, wars, and betrayal. In practice, writing an evening journal doesn't just ease stress, it creates a mental buffer before sleep. We no longer carry today's confusion into tomorrow. Each sentence becomes a soft release, a gentle closure. When we write, "Today I listened patiently instead of arguing," we affirm a value we want to keep. When we write, "I was hasty and hurt someone," we acknowledge it without judgment, simply to avoid repeating it. And when we write, "Tomorrow I will pause before reacting," we plant a seed of awareness for the future. The Stoics didn't expect perfection. They only hoped to inch forward each day toward clarity and virtue. The evening journal is a quiet yet powerful tool to help them do that. It doesn't require much time, just a few honest minutes with herself. Night by night, line by line, we begin to change. Not loudly, but with a strength that grows from within. And as this habit becomes natural, we no longer drift in the waters of unprocessed emotions, but become steady navigators of our own minds, with clarity, compassion, and unwavering resolve. 5. Living with purpose, the root of psychological stability. One of the most silent yet profound causes of anxiety, stress, and depression in modern life is the feeling of emptiness, the sense that we're alive but unsure why. Without a clear purpose, everything we do feels meaningless, every effort easily worn down by comparison, and every failure heavier because we don't know where we're headed. In contrast, those who live with purpose are less shaken by external forces, because they carry within them an inner compass, a direction that helps them adjust and keep moving forward no matter how chaotic the world becomes. For the Stoics, living with purpose is not some lofty ideal, it's the foundation of a resilient spirit. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Every action, every word, every thought must be directed toward one goal, to fulfill the duty of a human being with kindness, For him, the purpose of life didn't lie in fame, wealth, or recognition, but in living true to our human nature. Reason, virtue, and service. When our life's goal is clearly defined, we're no longer swept away by fleeting desires, no longer distracted by noise, and no longer obsessed with others' opinions of us. Each passing day becomes an opportunity to move closer to our mission, and that creates a sense of psychological stability, a feeling that we are on the right path, aligned with the values we believe in. Stoics don't demand a grand mission to call it living with purpose. They need only a guiding principle strong enough to shape behavior, direct thought, and ground major decisions. It might be, I live to raise kind children, or I exist to spread peace through my work. The purpose doesn't need to be grand, but it must be honest and aligned with the values we uphold. Once we have it, even the smallest actions carry meaning. Washing dishes becomes an act of responsibility. Listening to others becomes an expression of compassion. Hard work is no longer about proving something, but about keeping a promise to oneself. Living with purpose helps us escape the trap of spiritual aimlessness, the state where we wake up unsure of where we're going and go to bed unsure of what we've achieved. Without direction, the mind is easily swept up in meaningless comparisons, wounded by petty criticism, and distracted by fleeting pleasures. But when our purpose is clear, we can discern what's worth caring about, what should be let go, and what deserves our perseverance. This clarity frees the mind from unnecessary burdens, helping us focus on what matters and maintain calm and meaning, even in seemingly mundane tasks. A strange yet powerful truth is this: when we live with purpose, we become more resilient, because we no longer act out of emotion, but out of principle. When tired, we don't quit because we remember why we began. When rejected, we don't fall apart because we don't live for approval, but to fulfill a mission. And when we succeed, we don't boast, because we know our work is part of a larger journey, one toward becoming who we believe we ought to be. Purpose is like a lighthouse. It doesn't get us to shore instantly, but it gives us direction. And in an age where many feel lost, that direction is the root of psychological stability, a foundation for overcoming anxiety, combating emptiness, and cultivating a life rich in meaning. 6. Environment and relationships. Filtering what nourishes the mind. The human mind is not a fortress, impenetrable to influence. It is more like a garden, where whatever is planted will soon take root, whether wholesome seeds or harmful weeds. And like any garden, if we do not actively tend and filter it, outside elements, words, actions, attitudes, and the energy of others will seep in and shape how we think, feel, and live. The Stoics understood this well. They didn't view the mind as isolated, but as a space requiring careful guardianship. Seneca once warned, "If you live among angry people, you will learn to be angry without realizing it. If you talk daily with critics, you will slowly lose the gentleness of your own heart." In today's hyper-connected world, our mental environment extends far beyond physical proximity or close relationships. It includes social media, mass media, and everyday conversations. What we read, watch, and hear all become food for the mind. If we consume too much negativity, gossip, hollow boasting, or fear-driven narratives, our minds grow weary, doubtful, and restless. The Stoics didn't shy away from the world, but they were meticulous about what they paid attention to. Just as we choose clean water to drink, they chose wise words to hear and kind people to be near, not out of rigidity, but because they knew peace requires a healthy space in which to exist. Marcus Aurelius, amid a reign marked by upheaval, consistently reminded himself in his journal, "Do not let your mind be polluted by the misguided words or actions of the ungoverned. Return inward and keep your awareness." He didn't isolate himself, but he maintained a filtering wall within, deciding what thoughts to let in and what to stop. This was a silent but steady discipline that allowed him not to be swept up by others' moods or lose his reason in external chaos. Filtering our environment is not an extreme act. It is a refined form of personal energy management. When we spend time with those who are responsible, emotionally mature, good listeners, and respectful of others' values, we naturally feel lighter and more open. When we avoid angry, judgmental, or toxic conversations, we don't just preserve our calm, we protect our faith in humanity. The Stoics never encouraged rejection of reality, but they emphasized that living in the world and letting the world invade your inner life are two very different things. Practicing environmental filtering is both protective and constructive. We protect the clarity of the mind from unnecessary toxicity while building a space, externally and internally, where peace can take root. This includes withdrawing from pointless arguments, limiting time on social media, and spending more time in silence or with relationships that bring understanding and uplift the spirit. Because in the end, we cannot control the world, but we can choose what enters our inner world. The Stoics believed that the mind can only grow strong if it is nourished by clarity, integrity, and balance. And to achieve that, actively choosing our environment and relationships is not a luxury. It is a responsibility. Just as a farmer cannot expect a good harvest without tending the soil, a person cannot sustain peace if they leave their mind at the mercy of anything and anyone. Inner stability is not born from passive endurance, but from daily, intentional choices, deciding what is worthy of our attention, our trust, and our connection. 7. Gratitude for the present. A simple but effective weapon against anxiety. In moments of anxiety, what unsettles the mind is not necessarily the present itself, but our tendency to let the mind drift into an uncertain future or return to an unresolved past. The farther we stray from the present, the more we lose control. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't try to chase away anxiety with shallow encouragements, but relied on a simple yet profound spiritual remedy: gratitude. Not gratitude when things go well, but gratitude in the very present, even when that present is full of challenges. Because gratitude doesn't depend on circumstance, it is a choice of perspective. Epictetus once taught, "Don't complain about what you lack. Be grateful for what you still have." That seemingly simple statement contains powerful transformation. When we turn our attention to what is present, a deep breath, a full meal, a friend who listens, we pull our mental energy away from imagined fears and anchor it in what is real. Gratitude, in Stoic philosophy, is not just a pleasant emotion. It is a moral practice, a way to train the mind to resist greed, lack, and meaningless comparisons. The Stoics practiced gratitude daily through concrete actions. They wrote down 3 things to be grateful for in the morning or at night. They paused amid life's rush to look at the sky, to feel life in their hands, to recognize the blessing of being able to learn, to work, and to love. In those simple moments, anxiety melts like morning mist, because the mind no longer clings to what is out of reach, but finds rest in what is here. Gratitude does not make difficulty disappear, but it makes us strong enough not to be broken by it. It is not an escape, but a foundation, a quiet, unshakable base that allows our minds to remain steady through life's inevitable upheavals. 8. Slowing down. A countercultural way to cultivate clarity. Modern life worships speed. Everything must be fast. Instant news, immediate replies, success before 30. And if you pause to breathe, someone else may already be ahead. In this rhythm, people fear being left behind, fear falling behind, and so they enter a spiral of haste, anxiety, and exhaustion. But the Stoics choose a different path. They choose to slow down. Not because they are lazy or lack ambition, but because they understand that only when we slow down can we truly see what is happening within and around us. Clarity, like a lantern in the fog, can only be lit when we are still enough to notice it. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Do every act as if it were your last." That statement was not a call to rush, but a call to attention. When we slow down, we don't react on instinct. We gain a pause in which to choose, not just our actions, but our values, our attitude, the kind of person we want to be. Slowing down is not stopping, it is acting with awareness. Like an archer who doesn't rush to pull the string but patiently takes aim. The Stoic does not hurry to live, but lives with full presence. Practicing slowness can begin with the smallest acts. Eating a meal without looking at your phone, walking without listening to a podcast, replying to a message after thinking it through, taking 3 deep breaths before making a decision. These seemingly simple actions have the power to rewire the structure of the mind, helping us break free from a frantic pace and return to our own natural rhythm. In this slowness, we are no longer pulled by passing emotions, but can observe them like someone standing by a riverbank, watching the current flow without needing to dive in. The Stoics viewed slowing down as an act of resistance, not against society, but against the distraction and superficiality invading the soul. When we slow down, we allow ourselves to understand more deeply, to connect more genuinely, to live with greater depth. Clarity, the thing everyone seeks, does not come from consuming more, doing more, but from living slowly enough to recognize what truly matters. In a world that constantly pushes us to move faster, choosing to slow down is an act of courage to protect our awareness and our humanity. I don't believe anyone is truly immune to stress or sadness. But what I've learned from Stoic philosophy is that we can build a more resilient mindset day by day, not by avoiding suffering, but by looking it in the eye and asking, what can I learn from this? In my most anxious moments, I realize that what sends me into panic isn't the actual problem, but my mind inflating it. And when I pause, write a few lines in my journal, or simply take a deep breath to recall what lies within my control, everything starts to settle. To me, living in the Stoic spirit isn't about becoming cold. It's about learning to navigate emotion with kindness. You don't need to master it all at once. Just move a little closer each day to calm and clarity. Spiritual freedom, in the end, is the ability to hold on to yourself, even when the world around you is falling apart. If you find value in this path of discipline, Please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future content. Each of us has the ability to build a clear mind and a life of depth. Not through perfection, but through persistence in small daily choices. And sometimes, a single slow breath or a quiet line of reflection is enough to bring us back to ourselves, steady, silent, and free. See you in the next video.